Welcome to Sapien Analysis.
So why ADHD really happens? Is it genetic or does it develop, with social interaction, or is it like after the birth, when the neurons are trying to find their path? How it actually happens, or it's like all of them together?
I would think that primarily ADHD is something that's genetic or something that you're born with. If any parent who has children know that they come out different,
Right.
and they
Right.
come out different to start with.
Okay.
It's not necessarily a function of, of learning or parenting.
Right.
You've got one temperament and you've got another temperament, and
Right.
they came out that way. I would imagine it's possible by exposure to toxins, by, a fetal alcohol syndrome, by, injury to affect somebody's attention and to affect their brain. But I think probably the majority of children are born, with that gene, and you often find a parent or someone in the families who has ADHD as well.
Okay. Okay, got it. But could it also happen that if the child is completely, there is no genetic disorder, the social interaction or the parents' interaction somehow actually kind of initiated this kind of behavior or this kind of mental issues?
Well, this might be my own take on this, but I don't think so. I think
Okay.
that children who have ADHD have this kind of wiring, have this,
Okay.
sort of put it in a very broad kind of way, and that they, and whether they're inattentive or hyperactive or, or both, or have, they have poor working memory. You tell the child to do three things, he only remembers the last one you told him to do.
Right.
All of that kind of thing can be, I think, largely something that you're born with. What I think might make a difference in parenting is the degree to which a parent is simply punitive, or you're not doing a good enough job, and you're a bad kid, basically, versus
Right.
a parent who is facilitating the child and using tools. And there's lots of books of, tools for, helping kids with ADHD, helping the child organize, helping the child, know how long something's taking. So there's a wonderful thing that's an ADHD tool, that's a clock that you can set, say, for 10 minutes, and it's red, and then as the time goes down, the red goes away, it covers the red. So the child can actually see how long 10 minutes are.
Okay.
And so that if you're supposed to be getting dressed for school and you have that, that as the red disappears, you have to have your clothes on and be out. So I think there are parents who facilitate their children navigating having ADHD better, as
Okay. Got
opposed
it.
to people who shame their children
Right.
for being stupid or unmotivated or disrespectful,
Right.
or all the things we call someone who's doing something that we don't want them doing.
So when this kind of issue children actually kind of manifests, then managing is actually the most important thing, and especially from the parents, starting from the parents, and if there is anybody out there who can help them clinically, then that would be very
Well,
helpful.
I think, parents can help children, you know, um, organize, can help their children. If you say to a child, um, I want you to pick up your room. Okay, maybe you're a child, I say, pick up your room.
Mhm.
And in your head, that means you take everything off the floor.
Right.
Maybe what I have in my head is that everything gets hung up, put away in drawers.
Right.
And, so if a parent might learn to be very clear and specific in direction, so the child doesn't have to hang on in working memory to directions. You might have a chart that lists exactly what the child is going to do. And that, reinforces the child, if in the morning you get up, you wash your face and brush your teeth, you put on your clothes, you get your backpack together, you push your backpack next to the door, you get a check for each of those. And then that's reinforcing, because the child says, hey, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, as opposed to a child who's simply, okay, you're not doing a good job, you're supposed to be ready, you're not ready, you don't listen to me. Do you see what I mean?
Right.
And
Because the instructions are not very clear in his head.
And they need to be written down, because
Right.
working memory is holding things in your head. And so if you are talking to me, you're holding all kinds of things about me in working memory, probably, because you're thinking about what to ask me next.
Right.
You're listening to me. And if you didn't have working memory, you need to have the strategy of having it all written down where you can glance down and see it, right? And you'd have to know how to organize it. And then when the child gets to school, they need that kind of support in terms of, organizing themselves, being able to have some structure that helps them, anticipate what they're going to need to do, where they're going to need to put something, and to help the child with, say, transitions, or, let's say a child is impulsive and blurts out answers or raises their hand. And this is the child who's like this. Why? Because he's afraid if he doesn't have working memory, he's not going to remember what he wants to say.
Right.
Okay. So maybe we give him some paper and have him write down what he wants to say, and the teacher is sure to call on him so that he knows he will get a chance. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So helping manage it, what a lot of times people think of helping with ADHD is just helping the child make sure they have all the books they need to bring home, and they have everything, in their backpack, and they have the letter that goes to the parents. But they might not realize that, as I said, built into learning, there's a lot of issues that are challenging if you have ADHD. Or maybe we have to look at how much homework is a child can be able to do in the evening, realistically, if the medication is wearing off. Or the child may not remember to take out the little book that has all the homework, or may not totally attend to every detail of what it says, so they missed that they were supposed to do something.
Right.
And so the parent may need to sit down with them and say, let's circle all the things you need to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or do a yellow highlighter over all the operation signs and the math, so that you don't subtract when you should add. So there's a lot of, scaffolding, helping support the child, that you want to do at school and at home.
Right.
And, I also had a child once that I saw, and this child had ADHD, and he wasn't a kid who could sit still. And he wasn't on medication. And his father came from a very authoritarian background, where everybody had to sit at the table for all of dinner and participate in conversation. And it's interesting how rarely in dinner table conversation is intended to be interesting for kids.
Right.
We asked them, what was your homework? What did you do? Is there anything more boring than having to talk? Do you want to go home and talk about, some aspect of what you did that day that wasn't even interesting to you in the first place?
Exactly.
So, we're not saying, hey, what skateboard tricks did you learn? We're saying, what was your homework? So this kid's expected to sit there for the 3/4 of an hour that a very formal meal took, and he couldn't hold still. And sooner or later, he kicked his sibling, or he knocked over the water, or something happened, and the father would get all mad at him, and he would end up getting sent away, from the table. And my suggestion was that they allow the child to get up and move around and leave the room between courses.
Right.
And the father said, well, no, that's not how he did it. And I said, okay, well, you have a choice. You can do it the way you want to, but this child's going to get in trouble and feel bad about himself, and you're going to be angry at him every single day. Or you can do it differently and help your child find a way to manage something that's difficult for him, and he'll be successful and you won't have to be mad at him.
Mm-hmm.
So which would you prefer?
Right. Did he find a way?
Yeah, I mean, the father finally relented and, and let the child had a signal when he needed to get up and walk around, and was allowed to go do something while everybody was sitting around waiting. And then they would let him know to come back, and that worked really well.
This video is brought to you by Allura Online. If you love our fantastic videos, guess what? Allura Online can create amazing content for you too. Want to elevate your brand with top-notch videos? Check out the Fiverr link in the description or send a private email for more details. Act now and snag some exclusive discounts. Don't miss out. Contact Allura Online today and take your content to the next level.